solem tertium alleger.
Do you, like us, have like a box cutter and a tape measure in every room? Well, I think we do. I opened a drawer, found a box cutter and a tape measure. The box I am opening is 10 by 12 and a half, 12 and 3/4 actually, and it is about 4.5 inches wide. So like a media mail type of box. It is from Studio 2 Publishing. So I don't know, I feel like that's Pinnacle, but it could be other things. Like Fun Again seems like it's Free League and Modifius, maybe. Anyway, well, like we know like Lightning Source is Drive-Thru RPG. Anyway, it's got like that sort of brown tape to shut it up. I'm just slicing it with the box cutter, the really sharp one that Amy got me. Like, what brand is it? Bird Rock Pro. I guess it cuts through bird rocks. Well, Studio 2 is nice, and they put bubble wrap, not the circus peanuts. Oh wow! Oh, this is a superhero stuff from Studio 2. So that is the Superpowers Companion from Savage Worlds, is what I have in here. The Great Power Requires Great Rule Set, and here is the Superpowers Companion for the latest edition of Savage Worlds Adventure Edition, or Suede. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and an appendix. And it's Heroes and Villains, Gear, Setting Rules, Powers, Power Summaries, Rogues Gallery, Items of Power, and then the Appendix A is the Visori, and they talk about Necessary Evil. I guess that's going to be like one of their overarching themes here, which is interesting as I flip through. It comes in at about 190, see, the index starts on page 196 and goes through to 198 with a backsplash of last page is on one side the character sheet, and then advertisement on the back side with pawns and archetype cards. And, well, I did get the archetype cards because I love these, especially for people who don't like to make up characters. Got archetype cards, and I bet you they have like a Roll20 or something thing, although they're pretty easy to put in when I recall correctly. So the archetype cards, 36 ready-to-play archetypes. It's got Pulp, Street Fighter, Heavy Hitter, and Cosmic Crusaders. So actually it's got 12 4-color ones, 6 Pulp Heroes, 6 Street Fighter, 6 Heavy Hitters, and 6 Cosmic Crusaders, which is kind of cool. They're made with the more skill points setting rule and power levels 4 and 5, made with a hero setting rule. So I guess 4 and 5 being the last two. So, and they have like, so the first one's like the Archer. Probably look at this in more in depth. I'm just opening it up. It comes in a nice box, so you don't have to like look for rubber bands to put your archetype cards together. Now to slice that open, the wrap around it, and let's see. The first one is the Archer, and then Archer, Tank, Gunner, Iceman, Firebird, and they have like the ranks on them. Power level 3, seasoned. Their rank and then their power levels. So their power level 2, which would be the Street Heroes probably. I would love to do like a Street Hero type of game. That'd be kind of fun with this rule set. Power level 2. I don't know if they're rookies or if they started out as seasoned, but I definitely want to look through it. And I love the archetype cards. Very helpful. Dogs are barking like crazy in the background, so I have to check that out. And finally, Necessary Evil Breakout. I guess I ordered the print copy of that too. And Necessary Evil Breakout is sort of the Necessary Evil street level supers prequel to the smash hit Necessary Evil. So it's street level, and it is done for. Is it Suede? If it's not Suede, then I know I have supplements to make it Suede, but they have like what you do when the aliens and the whole premise of Necessary Evil is so New York is the last holdout against alien invasion. In response, the warlord Shtarka placed most of the troublesome Manhattan under a deadly and impassable energy field. Now your villain has to like fight. It's like Escape from New York. You're a villain, and it's like a prequel to starting Necessary Evil campaign to break out of New York. Seems pretty cool. Anyway, that's the unboxing. Superheroes Companion. Nice. Superpowers Companion is broken up into 6 chapters and an appendix. The first chapter is Heroes and Villains, which contains all the things you need to make characters, including heredity, attributes, skills, new hindrances and edges, new background edges and combat edges, etc. Chapter 2, surprisingly, is gear. It's not till chapter 3 that you have the setting rules, which includes the new terms used in the book. Chapter 4 is the powers, and there's even a power summary at the end of that. That's it looks like it's about 52 pages worth of powers. And then the biggest chapter seems to be the Rogues Gallery, which is about 60 pages, actually 80 pages of allies and villains. And then chapter 6 is Items of Power, which is not a very long chapter. The appendix is on the Visori, which are, I think they're using like the Necessary Evil as kind of not a default campaign setting, but a possible then campaign setting, campaign, I guess, plot point. And the Visori are the evil aliens, the aliens that, maybe they're not evil, the aliens that take over Earth. And then they talk about Necessary Evil, which is like the bad guys campaign. So things are pretty straightforward. I think one of the most important pages to me in chapter 1 is here on page 10, which talks about the new edges. And there's a new background edge that everyone gets, which is superpowers. And this edge grants a number of superpower points that can be used to buy superpowers, listed in chapter 4. So there's different power levels, like I explained in the overview and unboxing. Level 1 is early pulp heroes and teens. Level 2 are street fighters. Level 3 are true super beings, like the 4-color heroes. This would probably be like the default setting. Level 4 would be heavy hitters, so like the powerful planetary heroes, first line of defense against megalomaniacal world conquerors, etc. And then level 5 would be galactic heroes. So they kind of break it down, the campaign power level. In Power 1, you'd have 15 superpower points and a power limit of 5, whereas in level 5, you'd have 75 power points, so 5 times more, and 25, a power limit of 25. So it's kind of broken down that way. And power limits, player characters can't spend more than the campaign's power limit on any one power to maintain a particular flavor. So the total cost of the power after all modifiers are applied. So level 2 hero starts with 30 superpower points and has a power limit of 10. You could buy some sonic speed for 13 points, and then add some modifiers to it, and then etc. So I thought that's a very important chapter. Then gear, it says, with the advent of super intelligent gadgeteers making all manner of hyper advanced equipment, it's inevitable you get some devices. So there's a little blurb about capes, which is kind of funny, and how much they cost, if you want a cape or not, different special weapons. And then the gear also has vehicles, and I thought a cool part of it, starting on page 21, are bases. And then there's a way that the game master, and with the help of the players, in the course of their base, of course of villain's base, right, villain's lair. And then it says step 1, roll advantage, complication, the HQ's form, and how the super team gets it, and then any upgrades that you can get. And I guess you pay XP for the upgrades, or you get upgrades at certain points. Kind of interesting. I wonder how you get upgrades. Maybe get a number of upgrades clearly you should be able to buy upgrades, which would be kind of cool. Setting rules, the new terms, but there's some limited actions, limited free actions, maximum parry and penalty, plus 10, minus 10. Then how comic book combat looks like. So there's knockback, there's power stunts, things about so how you kind of put the normal Savage Worlds rules into effect in the superpowers context. Improvised weapons. So if you throw a bus or a tank at somebody, wow, they do a lot of damage. These guys got to have a lot of points, I guess. Synergy with the environment, death and defeat, finishing moves, different styles, from right. So 4-color to cosmic to gritty, fantasy, horror, ultraviolet. I guess you could do a fantasy superpowers. That could be interesting. And then what kind of power levels they recommend, and what kind of edges they suggest as well. 0 to hero as well. And then chapter 4 is powers. I'm going to pause this a second and check it out before I give an overview. Expect, as you would expect, the powers trappings is pretty extensive. Has a list of powers, has different power modifiers, universal modifiers. The summary is very helpful because it lists in alphabetical orders all the powers in a little like a short sentence and summary, but it has everything from absorption to whirlwind, the base cost, and then there are ways to increase or decrease the cost. And if you wanted to make your own character, you'd probably get to have a character concept, and then you and the game master would get together and determine what the FX that you're thinking of, how that could be modeled, right? So, for example, like armor, it's 1 per level, and each time you purchase this power, you get 2 points of armor. You can make it heavy armor, and add up 4 to that. You can have partial protection, which lowers the cost. So, right, it's like plate armor, plate mail, or gaps in the armor requires activation, so you have to call your armor up. Sealed, that's an example. So pretty cool. There's quite a lot of stuff. Boost lower traits, skill bonuses, dodging. You could be a super dodger. Healing could be a power. Force fields as well. Invisibility, intangibility. There's even a luck, a jinx power. So pretty cool. A lot of things you could model. They even have a way to do power pools in a way. I was reading here, and they give a lot of examples, which is extremely helpful when you go through here, which I think is neat. So I know I saw something about power. Maybe it was earlier. Trappings is an important thing, like how you want to model your trappings. Like everything can be a ranged attack, but what does it look like is dependent on you. That's a big thing here. It's pretty comprehensive. Here it is. So universal power modifier summaries on page 46 and 47, power sets. If you want to create a character that has different forms and different power sets, you can do that. It tells you how. So pretty cool. Ranges are a boost. Devices put a limitation. There's all sorts of limitations you can put on your powers. It's not as crazy granular as Hero System Champions, but it's pretty good, pretty comprehensive, and I can't wait to dive into it to do it. Chapter 5, like I mentioned, is a rogues gallery. It has your generic NPCs, civilians like common criminals. Then it has all the different supers or bad guys. Baba Yaga, Asmodeus. Is that yeah, it is Baba Yaga. Wow. Beachhead, which looks like Sandman. One called the Black Hole. Someone called the Black Widow. There's the Green Goddess here as I flip through. Yeah, like I said, there's 80 pages worth of bad guys. The Pied Piper. I'm sure, and they list the power level. For example, Surtur here is power level 5, so a galactic hero. Tech gangs they have, and they have the different types. So that's pretty cool. Here's Witch Hunter, which is a power level 3. So pretty neat. Items of power, not as long. Like a few pages here. Some important items of power maybe that come up in the plot point, the necessary evil plot point. And then the appendix A, like I said, is a story. It has the Overmind, different troops, War Masters, minions, and then it talks about sort of necessary evil. The first superpowers book for Savage Worlds is Breakout, Necessary Evil. So pretty neat, pretty cool book. Really a definite if you're going to run superhero games using the Suede rule set. I am looking forward to it. All right, well, that was my mini review. And next up is someone who is going to take the Superpowers book and working on a project. This is Mason Emerson. And he is, well, I interviewed him, which was really cool. I think you'll enjoy the interview. And, well, take it away, Carl from the past and Mason Emerson. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. I have a special guest for you today, and it is Mason Emerson, who I had the privilege to sit at his virtual table a couple of weekends ago at BSRCon 2, and he ran a game for Savage Worlds Adventure Edition, Suede for short, called Harvey's Heroes. And it was a very enjoyable game, and I wanted to get him on the Geomologist Presents because he's kind of talking about developing this into a product. And I wanted you guys to hear that kind of first on the Geomologist and get to know Mason. So how are you doing today, Mason?
Doing well, thanks, Carl. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we always have background noise on the show, so don't worry about, animals or kids or whatever. It's part of the, I guess, the rawness and the fun of the Anchor type of podcast, I think. So I'm glad you were able to join us. So tell me about, I guess, how we met. Like I said, at BSRCon, and we played Suede, and you had a very, I would say, one of the most unique offerings out there and a different take on Suede called Harvey's Heroes.
No, yeah, certainly. Well, to start with, I love Savage Worlds Adventure Edition. It is a great core engine that can run underneath almost any kind of skin you want to put on top of it. And I love a lot of the published settings and everything too. But the thing about most of the published settings is most of them are X situation with horror. I mean, their flagship product, Deadlands, is a great product. I love it. I run it. I really thoroughly enjoy it. But it's Wild West with horror. East Texas University, which I also love and run, it's college experience with horror. So my setting of Harvey's Heroes is a slight variation from that. I kind of got the idea to start it with the It's Toon Time setting that was put out, but this one went a little bit further, and my daughter and I ended up actually developing known characters for the game that would actually help the story to be told. And then when the Savage Worlds superhero or the Superpowers companion came out recently, I realized that by taking these two and tweaking them together, I could actually get a setting that would be something that would be enjoyable to be played on its own, and that is Harvey's Heroes. Because initially I was alliterating all the names for all the characters except Jimmy the Rat. Jimmy the Rat had to be Jimmy the Rat because, hey, he's Jimmy the Rat. But when I originally had named my hamster character Harry Hamster, but it was my daughter who pointed out in an homage to the Weird Al Yankovic song that Harvey the Wonder Hamster had to be the name of the main character. And that just kind of tied in with Hogan's Heroes and with all the other heroes type names. So it became Harvey's Heroes, and we populated it with a whole cast of rodents. And we have a an erudite transatlantic accented British Angora cat named Aloysius Aurelius. And of course, his logical counterpart of James Sir Benson, the hound who lives out in the doghouse in the yard. But of course, once you enter it, because it's a cartoon, it's not a doghouse on the inside, but a gentleman's club with smoking stands and leather chairs. And of course, any other character in the universe can live out there. It's just James Sir Benson's house, and he wears a smoking jacket when he's in there. So and there's another movie reference in there as well. So nods to anybody who gets that one.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess where are you at? You've kind of given us an origin of the development, and then so where are you at with this project? And then I guess a follow-up question. You mentioned superhero, which is go really well. I'm going to do I do mini review Mondays on my podcast, and I am about to do a mini review of the new superhero book from Suede. So it works really well to add this short interview onto that. But let's talk about where you're at with Harvey's Heroes, and then why superhero? What makes it what makes you kind of suggest the superhero supplement?
Yeah. Well, where we're at with Harvey's Heroes is we are still in the early writing stages of it. So my daughter's still making more illustrations for it, and we're working at getting something that you'll be able to just grab the characters and grab individual images out of there and be able to show a setting to your players and just roll forward with it. And it's meant to be cartoony and zany and off the wall. And that's where, when I was reading through the Superpowers Companion, I've read through the second edition, so this new Suede edition of the Superpowers Companion, it actually reminded me of the fact that in the Superpowers Companion, everybody already has the arcane background superpowers. And the skill that is used to drive it is not any necessarily one skill for a power. It's the focus power or the focus skill, and that activates whatever powers are not passive powers. And so when you aren't doing, like a ranged attack, you'll still use shooting to do a ranged attack. But if you're doing like invisibility, instead of having a specific skill for invisibility, you have the focus skill, and you roll on that focus skill, and that activates your invisibility, and a raise will give you the better effect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I decided to incorporate It's Toon Time and the Savage World Superpowers Companion and my own bit of writing into it, and it's kind of all mashing together to come out with a nice, silly, fun setting that everybody can laugh at. Even the game master gets a good laugh out of it, because as a game master, I throw it out there and let you as players come up with your own zany solutions to it.
And what's the implementation of the focus power that's going to be there incorporated into Harvey's Heroes?
Well, I'm going to retool the name of it again. Instead of being focus, it's going to be Toonie.
Yeah.
And Toonie it covers all the other things that you see in a cartoon that just aren't covered by regular skills. So that idea of being able to hold your finger up and tell the cat just a second, and you take off to the right while he's still looking at your cloud shape on the left, or your ability to have a bag that you just suddenly pull out of an internal pocket and you start pulling all sorts of things like Elvis and other things that have been lost out of this bag until you find what you're after.
Right. Well, that's cool. So I guess the inspiration is going to be the old Looney Tunes,
Tom and Jerry,
Saturday morning kind of cartoons, or I guess it would be afternoon after school type of cartoons. I think.
Yeah, Animaniacs and Freakazoid.
Okay. And, so you bring in the modern stuff in too. So, well, that's great. That's
pretty much anything that Tom Ritter put his hands to. Shout out to him. He's awesome.
Yeah. So why Suede? So what is just because it facilitates all these different, or
Savage World Adventure Edition.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned Toon Time. Is that something like?
Yeah, that was a small supplement that was put out.
Oh, okay. Oh, it was for Savage Worlds.
It is for Savage Worlds.
Okay.
And I have no problems with it at all. It's a nice little fun setting, and it's scalable to a short episode versus a longer series and stuff like that. But I think that Harvey's Heroes gives a little more focused into the cartoon world, and it also does allow for both episodic and, so episodes being a one shot or just a standard, doesn't really contain anything tied together. But on the flip side, you can do a campaign with it and do Who Framed Roger Rabbit or something like that.
Right.
You could do a longer cartoon show.
Yeah, that's true. That's cool.
So going back to your other question about Savage Worlds, why Savage Worlds? Because
Yeah.
I feel that Savage Worlds really, it is abstract enough in its skills and its abilities and its edges and hindrances that abstraction allows for a lot of space. As an example, fighting. In Savage Worlds, fighting is fighting is fighting. So you could be a martial artist just using your bare fists. You could be a knife fighter. You could be a sword fighter. You could be a polearm fighter. All of that is covered under fighting. And you don't need to get into the nitty gritty. Well, I could use a halberd, but I can't use a spear. None of that silliness. I mean, that's where I love Savage Worlds as a system. The Savage Worlds Adventure Edition is the best version of it so far.
Mm-hmm.
And as a system, I can't sing its praises loudly enough, because whereas to use as what I like to call the peanut butter scale of game systems, on one side you have Crunchy, where you have a rule for every single little thing. And on the other side, you have Smooth, which is, why does the game master even bother to show up? Because you're just going to find out and play how the story's going to go anyway. There's very few calls for dice rolls, very few calls for the game master to do anything other than set a difficulty, which you could almost roll on a table to get. So there's that spectrum there. And the long beloved Dungeons and Dragons kind of falls more towards that Crunchy end. I mean, it's got half the player's handbook is just spells, and that's fine. If Dungeons and Dragons is the feel you want to go for 5e, go for Dungeons and Dragons. But if you want to have the flexibility, the ability to be able to have a good balance of storytelling and of having rules that also keep you within the constraints of the story, Savage Worlds is really where that balance really lies. It's kind of almost the perfect middle of the road system between the Crunchy and the Smooth.
Yeah, I've also enjoyed the presentation, whether it's third party or straight through Pinnacle, of the different Savage Worlds products. I can already think, I'll ask you this question now. So how are you going to do like a Kickstarter? Is that the plan? Or are you just going to put it out there via a drive-through or another type of platform? Or how are we going to first see Harvey's Heroes?
That part I'm still investigating.
Okay.
I'm just going to try and put it together as a good offering, and then see if I'm going to Kickstart it or what have you, because right now I don't know really anything about Kickstarter other than I buy things on it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I still have too much to learn on that to really give you a full answer on that.
Yeah, and I also noticed that Pinnacle, even it seems like for third-party stuff, they kind of have an internal kind of crowdfunding type of thing. So
yeah,
so they have internal, and then they've gone straight to BackerKit as opposed to a Kickstarter. So I don't know the reasons behind that, but I know that, like, I'll get on the Pinnacle side and go, oh, they're having a crowdfunding for this. It's done, and they just need them, to crowdfund it for the printing, to offset printing costs or pay more artists or stuff like that. So, but I was just thinking like Kickstarter, some of the crowdfunding, because you could have like a stretch goal or something to make archetype cards for all the iconics. I think that'd be kind of fun to have little archetype cards, because that's one of the things I love about playing, especially for getting new players into play Suede, is, oh, here's your character, this neat little card, and it has all the information you need to play the game, right? So it's pretty cool. And
and that is one of the nicest things about Savage Worlds, is instead of spending almost a whole session of 4 hours making one character, you can make your character in about an hour if you're unexperienced. And sometimes if your character's been killed, which in Harvey's Heroes won't be happening,
Uh-huh.
Harvey's Heroes, if your character's killed, you're out for a couple of rounds, and then you're back in again because hey, it's a cartoon.
The cartoon, yeah.
You know,
Next
so if
commercial
Aloysius
break or
actually,
whatever, or even bad guys. That even happens to
yeah,
bad guys, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
If Aloysius gets a swipe in on you and knocks you against the wall and you take all the wounds, you'll be back in the next round full health. So, you know, but you can easily create a new character in a more serious game in 15 minutes once you get the hang of it.
So are you planning on? I know the convention season is coming up. You planning on going to any and kind of running some of these games, or sticking to online, or what does it look like?
Yeah, well, coming up in March is going to be our SaltCon up here in the Salt Lake City area. Actually, up in the county just north of Salt Lake, and I'm gonna be running Harvey's Heroes there. I'm also gonna be running 3 other games. So I'll be running It's Toon Time. I'm gonna be running. Oh goodness, I'm running. Like I said, let's see, Harvey's Heroes. I'm checking actually real quick right now. I'm also going to be running one called Moon at the Edge of Oblivion, which is one of the Savage Worlds specific setting story ones that they've put out. I'm going to be running a Deadlands game called Daddy's Boy, and I'm going to be running the one your wife got to play in with me, the first one, the game called Chickens in the Mist, which is set in the East Texas University setting.
Yeah, neat. So yeah, pretty cool, good stuff. So is SaltCon like a heavy Savage Worlds, or is that just, or is it? I know there's some cons that are like you can go there and you'll meet a lot of creatives, right? So like Chupacabra Con, for example, in Austin, a lot of Savage Worlds, especially ETU because it's right down the road, right? So something like that, or North Texas RPG Con is known for like OSR. So you know. So is SaltCon specific like that, or or do you know, or?
SaltCon is actually, it started off as a board game conference.
Okay.
And then it just kind of, it started incorporating RPGs, and
that's cool.
And so, yeah, it's actually really going to be a lot of fun to get out there. And I'm also going to be running, actually, one of the ones that I am going to be running is going to be the Teen. It's called Teen Crush. It's by a friend of mine, Tracy Sizemore, and that's superheroes. It's teenage superheroes.
That's cool. Using Savage Worlds this way.
Yeah, yeah. I primarily run Savage Worlds. I could probably, if I pushed it, I could probably run the old storyteller system. I kind of have a background that I'm, kind of a grognard, in that I've been in gaming since about 1980 something or other. I'll just kind of leave it there. But I started during the Satanic Panic of the 80s, and my parents wouldn't let me play Dungeons and Dragons because that was satanic. So I ended up getting into the first role-playing game that I personally owned was Rifts. So my parents weren't paying attention all the way, because in that one you can actually open a portal to hell. But,
right there you can actually play. I think you can probably play like a demon or a demon summoner. The irony.
Oh, the irony. But yeah, my friend Tracy Hickman was part of the reason why the Satanic Panic ended. Yeah. And then I also ran. I got Tales from the Floating Vagabond.
Yeah.
When Avalon Hill had that one, and that was the first one I actually owned and got to play in. And then I did eventually get into second edition AD&D. Got to go back and play some first edition stuff, and then I really got into the World of Darkness storyteller system, and I played that. And then I even bought GURPS, and I am a recovered Magic player. So, because Magic is crack for gamers.
Yeah.
It's gives you a quick thrill and a quick high, and then you have to buy more stuff in order to have it be good.
Stay competitive. Yeah. It's like an MMO with cards in a way, right? You got to get the latest, greatest. Yeah. That's crazy.
But I mean, I still have a nice collection of them. I just don't buy anymore. Wow. So yeah. And then, about 2018. So this summer will be 5 years. I had some friends ask me to run a game, and I went, oh crap, I've never really run a game before. So I threw myself into a now defunct Savage Worlds Game Master podcast that was it had a lot of good information in it, but I can't recommend it to teenagers because they got an E rating almost every single episode because of just their language and content and stuff.
Yeah.
And while they were great, nice people, they just went E rating, and so that's part of what got me headed in this teen direction. Well, that, and I also asked myself, what was it that made my teenage years functional? Why did I, what was it that kept me from committing suicide? And it was role-playing gaming and having those friends that were depending on me and having that family that I built around myself. And I thought, since that was the happiest time of my life, and since it had such a good effect on me, since a good result, how could I extend that to teenagers? And that leads right into my ACE role playing.
Yeah, that leads. I was going to say
club.
That segues perfectly into your ACE role playing club, which is a YouTube series that you can subscribe to, and I'll put the link in the show notes. But tell me about ACE, and I think you gave the origin of it. So tell me about it.
Yeah. So ACE role playing games, the ACE role playing games clubs are clubs that teenagers are encouraged to set up in their own area with their own friends, and I help them find out how to get an adult to be a sponsor. Now, the adult has to pass a background check, but that's really easy to do. And as long as the adult passes a background check and you can find a public venue to play at, you can set up your own ACE role-playing games club right there. I teach you how to be a game master through YouTube videos and through conference calls. So I can use Google Meet or whatever to meet with you and teach you the basics of how to be a game master. And then you get your friends together, and once a week you're off your phone for 3 hours. And it's a blast. We have a club here in South Jordan, Utah, that my daughter, who's 16, is the game master for the main table. And just this last week, we had 8 players show up. And because of that hit the threshold of what we needed to do to split the table. So I took 4 of the players into another room, and we had that special reserve room, and we also had a table out on the main floor, and we had players going at that. And so ACE stands for Achieve, Create, and Entertain. And it's designed to be a club where teenagers get to choose their own way of handling it and get to tell their own stories. And so the sometimes gray-bearded old guy here, I don't have to be the one running the story. They get to run their own stories, and they get to have their own experiences. And, if I can even find and help one teen to not commit suicide, then I've paid it forward, and I've helped put something good into the world.
Yeah, it sounds really awesome. I'm actually going to probably link to the hotline and the awareness sites for what you just mentioned to you about preventing that and have some suicide awareness. That's really awesome. I know when I was growing up, it was more like the cliques and the clubs and the bullying that kind of helped me to find the gaming groups, right? Because there it didn't matter your socioeconomic background, the color of your skin, everything. As long as you wanted to play games, hey, you're welcome at the table. And I thought that was a really positive influence when I was growing up to keep me out of trouble, keep me away from the meanness that can exist in middle school and high school. So I thought it's really great. I think what you're doing. Are there other places that have an ACE role-playing club, or you just started it? Or
currently we have the main one in South Jordan, but I have a friend down in Provo who looks like he's going to be able to spin up an ACE role-playing games club.
Oh, great.
And that's about 30 minutes to maybe 45 minutes south of where I'm at. And it sounds like we might be getting one going out in Kansas City area.
Oh, nice.
So we're just trying to populate as many locales as possible with ACE role-playing games clubs, because the whole point is you'll have the gaming brought to you. And in most cases, I mean, I'm hoping to like hit Elks clubs and Lions clubs and things like that, and find those kind of clubs that would have some grants and stuff to be able to donate. So that way I can help whatever club establishes itself to buy its own copy of Savage Worlds Adventure Edition at least.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
And because
So you guys
the nice thing
have
is,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, the nice thing is that Suede, you can get a digital copy of it for just $10 on the Pinnacle website. And
yeah, they're actually
right now,
very
that's
generous.
the only way you can get it.
Well, they're
That's the
actually
only
very
way you can
generous
get
too. If you talk to Pinnacle, they're very generous. I know Amy gets stuff from them all the time, and their creatives, their regular freelance writers and their staff writers have a lot of leeway to donate stuff as well, because we have some here locally that regularly do stuff like that. So it's definitely a great. Sounds like the beginnings of a great partnership, running Suede and then with Ace. Are you guys going to have a reunion at SaltCon? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and see how many of the teens are gonna want to come up and everything.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
and it'll be a lot of fun to get as many of them up there as possible. But yeah, for my 4 things that I'm running at SaltCon, 2 of my tables are already filled up.
Nice.
My Thursday and Friday table haven't been touched yet, but my 2 Saturday tables are gone.
That's really awesome. Yeah, well, it's great. So it sounds like you got. I'm actually looking forward to Harvey's Heroes and this kind of take on Suede. Like you said, a lot of things are kind of horror driven. I guess even Rips is somewhat horror driven, right? It's like a weird sci-fi interdimensional horror, but you know, a light to show that you can have fun and in a lighthearted way using a really good rule system. And it sounds like a fantastic product. And it's really neat to me that you're actually kind of riffing off the new superhero book as almost like an addendum to the superhero stuff. So
because just think of all the silly ways you can take the superpowers and just reuse them as cartoon abilities.
I can already think, like, from Looney Tunes, anytime Wile E. Coyote orders from Acme, anytime when the Roadrunner draws like a tunnel that only the Roadrunner can use, you know, stuff like that. You can totally think of silly stuff, you know, from the cartoons where, you know, that where all this kind of zany, toony type power happens. So thanks a lot, Mason. Do you have anything else do you want to promote or talk about?
Well, I just definitely want to just give a big shout out to the people at Pinnacle.
Yeah,
they've there's a reason why the core rule book in print is unavailable right now. It's such a good rule book, and just at a cost level, you know, if you look at it at that level, when you buy into that, you know, that certain D20 system that is the core system to all of that, you're buying in almost at $180 worth of product to just get started. Savage Worlds, it's one product for $40, $39.99, and you get the PDF with it.
Yeah,
and just the way Shane and Jody and Clint run the company, it is so well done, and I really love the way that they are really just trying to make an open creative space for all of us.
Yeah.
Oh, they have their Savage Universe coming out as well.
Oh, right.
Which is, you know, for people who want to be creative and even sell stuff, they have their their licensing tiers that allow people to create for Savage Worlds. So that's really one of the great things out there as well. So if you're in the Salt Lake City area, come out to SaltCon March 2nd through the 5th, and try and grab one of my spots at one of my other tables.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much, Mason. And thank you so much for joining the Geomologist Presents. And I hope to hear updates of how Harvey's Heroes is developing, and maybe it will come closer to whatever crowdfunding you use, or if you just put it out and use maybe the Savage Universe, let us know and we'll have you come on again.
Great. Right. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.